Hello, this is Nagelfairy, and today I'm going to be doing tutorials on all of the navigation systems in the Mi-24 Hind. The first system I want to talk about is the DIS-15 navigation system. It's tied to your Doppler. It takes the information from your Doppler and your HSI, and it calculates your change in position in the world. It just tracks the way you're flying, how fast, and you can use that data in order to help you to navigate. If you followed my startup tutorial, all the switches should be in correct positions for this system to function. But you just want to make sure that on this panel, the switch is in the gyro position. This is going to ensure the accuracy of the system. And this green light needs to be on, the upper light. If it's not on, that means something is not on, or something is damaged. You use this panel here to set the system up, and has 4 sets of buttons, left and right, forward and backwards, the course angle, and on and off switch. So what you want to do first, you want to measure the distance between where you are and your destination. So I'm here at Taftanas in Syria, and I want to fly to Abu ad-Duhur, and I just want to grab my ruler tool. I'm going to measure the distance. So it shows me roughly 39.6 at heading 133 degrees. So I'm gonna just input that data into this panel right here. 133 degrees heading is true heading, and your HSI is tied to your magnetic compass. It's synced with it, so you're flying magnetic headings. Syria has +5 magnetic declination, so you take the true heading and subtract 5 in order to get magnetic. So I'm just gonna input 1 to 8 in the course angle. The distance was 39.6, so I'm just gonna go aft 39.6 kilometers. This is roughly 39.6. And after you set it up, don't forget to turn this on switch. Sometimes I would take off and forget to turn it on and realize halfway that it's not doing anything. Basically, as you start flying at the correct heading, this is gonna count down to 0, and when it reaches 0, you arrive at your destination. And this number right here is your deviation from your course line. It's gonna say either right or left, and it's gonna show you in kilometers. If this says 0 and this shows 2, for example, right 2, it means you are at the destinations but 2 kilometers to the right. So when you fly, you try to keep this as close to 0 as possible, and you just fly the heading until it reaches 0 and you're at your destination. And I'm gonna take off and demonstrate. Also, I'm gonna set this heading to 1 to 8 just for reference, and I'm gonna set this to 1 to 8 as well. I'm gonna be trying to use the route mode, and after the latest patch has been giving me a bit of grief, it's been kicking off for no reason. But the way you use it, you set the heading here, and you click this route mode on, but you gotta make sure that all autopilot channels are on. I'm gonna take off without the altitude hold and without the yaw autopilot, and I'm gonna turn them on after takeoff. It's gonna probably take me a few tries to get this going, but eventually it should work. And when it's on, you can just change this heading here, and the helicopter will make turns automatically. Just gonna taxi onto the runway and make a right and take off. So I'm gonna turn the autopilot channels on. And I'm gonna start fighting with the route mode. Okay, route mode seems to be functioning. Right now I'm heading roughly 132, and it takes into account the 4 degrees drift angle that I got, and that's so I'm going 128, and that's exactly the heading I want to go. I got about 30 kilometers to go. Also, this moving map works as well. The Doppler system tracks your movements, and it affects the marker, moves the marker. But the marker currently is thinking that you're flying a true heading. So I'm flying 128, so it thinks I'm going 128 on this map too. It doesn't transfer to true heading. And there's a panel in the front seat that you can set magnetic declination in, but it doesn't seem to be. I can't change anything. It's like the knob doesn't do anything. So maybe it's still work in progress at this point. So I'm about 10 kilometers away, and I have a slight drift to the right, but it shouldn't be a big deal. I should still be able to see my destination. Just gonna be slightly on the left, that's all. Okay, I'm going about 6 kilometers away. I'm gonna shut off my rod mode and the autopilot channels I don't need. And I'm gonna fly manually from here. Make a bit of a left to compensate for that right drift. There should be a runway somewhere. Oh, there it is. It's right here. So yeah, we have arrived at the destination. This is the runway that we were looking for. And it's, as you noticed, it's quite foggy, and I wouldn't be able to do it just visually. So I had to have some sort of an assistance in order to get to where I was going. And this Doppler system is quite accurate and quite useful, as long as you use it right. Next system I want to talk about is your ARC-15 system. The control panel for it is just right here, and it's used to tune to NDB beacons with frequency ranges between 150 kilohertz and 1700 kilohertz. And on the map, if you open the map, and especially in Caucasus, all of it is NDB beacons. They're all over the place. These are the ones that you're looking for. This one, for example, here 520 kilohertz, and one over here 462 kilohertz. These are the ones you tune to, and it will give you an arrow, a direction arrow to this beacon. So right now I'm starting at Tbilisi-Lachini, and my objective is to fly along these NDB beacons here to get to Kutaisi. So I got 3 beacons here, 520, 462, and 353. And also Kutaisi itself has a NDB 477. Also Syria has a lot of NDB beacons, so that system can be used there as well. But if you're on Persian Gulf, there's no NDB beacons there. Majority of navigation is done with VOR, and you do have a VOR station that you can use, and I'll explain that in the next part. The good thing about NDBs is the signal from the stations follow the curvature of the Earth, so they give you quite a bit of range, and you can capture their signal while being a lot lower and a lot further. So what I'm gonna do, I am first gonna tune to this 520 kilohertz beacon, and every beacon has 2 letters by it. This one has Delta Foxtrot. This one has Oscar Echo, and these are the Morse code for every beacon. When you tune to a beacon, you can set your radio to listen to this Morse code. It's going to broadcast the Morse code. And if you are tuned to the correct beacon, it should broadcast these 2 letters. Delta Foxtrot is dash dot 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 dash dot. So let's tune to this 520. So this is your number 1, and this is your number 2, and this is the switch to flick between the 2. So this wheel controls the first number, which is 5. This little switch controls the second number, which is 2. And this one controls the third number, and it's 0 for us, for this one. Then you need to flick the switch into the comp mode, so it can tune to the station. And also the needle, the number 1 needle here, the skinny one, will automatically tune to that, turn to that towards that station as soon as I flick this switch on. And the station has been located, roughly 300. It's sometimes it bounces around a little bit, but it eventually will settle off. The way you listen to the Morse code, you need to flick the radio switch into this ARC-15 position. It's the second to last position, and you need to make sure the switch is in the down position. Up is intercom, down is radio. I'm gonna turn the volume up for the beeps. Dash dot 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 dash dot. So this is the correct station. I don't need to listen to it anymore. And I'm also gonna set my second arc for 462 for the next waypoint on my flight path. 462. And when I'm gonna pass the 520, I'm just gonna flick the switch, and it's gonna tune to this station right away, and then I'm gonna change this one to the next waypoint. So I got my heading, roughly 300. Now I'm gonna make a right on the runway, and I'm gonna make takeoff. So I want to be pointed just a little bit to the right because I will be drifting 4 degrees to the left during normal flight. See if I can get heading hold to work. So roughly 291. On this flight, the reason I want to be using NDB beacons over, let's say, the Doppler navigation, it's because Doppler navigation requires you to stay within your radar altimeter range for it to work. And I want to fly a little higher because there's mountains. I don't want to be constantly going up and down. And it's because, and also because over larger distances, this system will deviate more and more. And it is a large distance I'm traveling today. And again, this map is gonna deviate as well because it thinks I'm flying true heading. Whereas I'm flying magnetic, I'm actually flying a bit more to the right on the map. So that is right down there, is the beacon that I was going to. This is how it looks on the ground. And I'm about to pass it. And this needle number 1 is gonna go all the way back. This needle is just gonna flip over to the back. Here it goes. So now I'm just gonna flick the switch to number 2, and this 462 is my next waypoint. And the needle is showing roughly 266, 265, and this is where I'm gonna turn. By the way, right now my hands are off the controls. The only thing I'm doing is holding the rudder in one position, and the helicopter is controlling itself. The other pilot is doing everything. And I'm also gonna input the next waypoints to the first channel. Let's look at what it is. It's 353 kilohertz. So I'm gonna input 353. And when I pass this beacon, I'm just gonna flick it back to number 1. So this is the next beacon that I'm passing, right there on the ground. This is waypoint 2. And I'm gonna flick to waypoint 3 when the needle flips over. And there we go, the needle is flipping back. So I'm gonna switch back to arc 1. 353, that's our next waypoints. And it's roughly the same heading as we were previously going, maybe a little bit to the left. then it's time to switch the Arc 2 to the Kutaisi waypoint, which is gonna be 477 kilohertz. Four seven seven. So I'm about to pass the next waypoint. It's that beacon right down there. And next beacon is the Kutaisi NDB. And that one is a little far, so hopefully I can still catch it. The signal might be a little weak. Usually you can tell by when you listen to the Morse code, it's the radio is going to be crackling. It's going to be kind of hard to hear. Okay, the needle is flipping over. I'm gonna flick it to Kutaisi beacon. It looks like it's still caught it. Heading roughly 249. Also, you can adjust this moving map. You see how it drifted off my flight path even though I'm right on the flight path. There's this two rotaries here that you can adjust right and left and up and down. I just need to bring this one up. I just passed the beacon, which is this dot right here, and I can put this back on the line, but it will still keep deviating because there is no way to set the magnetic declination as the time of this video. And the only thing that MDB beacons give you is direction to the beacons. There's no way to determine distance to it. Actually, that's a lie. There is a way to determine distance to it, but it involves flying sideways to the beacon, flying at 90 degrees to the beacon, and timing it, and seeing how many degrees it changes over a period of time. And you can calculate distance using that information. But there's no number on your dash that will tell you what the distance is. Also on Caucasus, the compass deviates quite significant amount. For whatever reason, I'm not sure why. Like, it's right now it's showing me roughly 252, my heading. The compass, the magnetic compass, shows me just under 270, 269 maybe. And in order to align the compass, you're supposed to switch this into magnetic, and you're supposed to press synchronize. But right now, the way it works, you just flick it to magnetic, and it aligns right away, even though it's not supposed to. Maybe this tune switch will do some. No, you see the compass aligned itself immediately. So I just press the sync button to sync it, and I'm gonna flick it back to gyro. Yeah, pressing sync is not mandatory, but for now, but it should be. Like eventually they'll probably fix that. Okay, so now the heading that it shows me is about 260, so I'm gonna set that on the autopilot. And when I say that the compass deviates on caucasus, I'm not 100% sure that it's just the Caucasus fault, or maybe it's because I'm just flying east to west. Probably that's why it deviates, but that's just my guess. I'm not sure exactly how that works. So right ahead of me, I got the Kutaisi airfield. This was my destination. I'm just east of it, over here. And successful navigation. Mission complete. So the next thing I want to talk about is another system that you have in your Mi-24 Hind is the ARC U2. It uses a couple of radios that the aircraft is equipped with to home on beacons. And one of the radios is R828. That radio is usually used to communicate with ground troops. It uses the frequency range that the ground troops are using. And those ground troops can switch their radio stations to allow you to home on their position. And you set it up. Right here I have a Mi-24 placed in the mission editor. I apologize, it's in Russian, but all the settings are going to be in exact same spots for you. Right here you have a radio station tab where you can edit the channels for all your radios. This is your R863. This is your main radio for communications, and R828. This is your radio for communicating with ground troops. These are the default presets, and I don't usually change them. Right here I have channel 7, 50 megahertz FM, and this is what I have set up right here with this Humvee. Got a Humvee on the grounds, and what you need to do, you need to go into the special settings in waypoints, and you need to set his frequency. So you set his frequency. I have it set to 50 megahertz FM, and this is the power setting. I have it at 100 watts. The power setting affects how far he broadcasts, from how far you can tune to his frequency. And another special option you need to do is for him to transmit a sound. So you set to transmit, and you select whatever sound you want. I have a Sierra Foxtrot Morse code set up. And you gotta select this cycle check mark here. You want him to cycle this over and over. So if he stops transmitting the sound, you will not be able to tune to it anymore. So this is the setup you need to do in the mission editor. And I'm gonna jump in a Mi-24 now and demonstrate. So the active pause is currently on, and I'm just gonna set it up and then fly and try to find him. Try to find the Humvee. So this is down here is your panel for the RQ2. If you followed my startup tutorial, this panel is going to be on, but in the hot start it starts with off. So you want to flick the switch into the on position. And the panel right above that is where you switch between communication and the navigation. I'm just going to leave that in communication right now, and we're going to move to this panel right up here. This is your R828 channel selector. Channel 7 is the 50 FM, so I'm going to select that. And then you need to tune to the 50 FM by pressing this button. This tuner light will come on, and then when it tunes to 50, it will extinguish. And when it's extinguished, you're good to go. I'm going to press it now. Light comes on. Light shuts off, and I'm tuned to 50 FM. Now, you can listen to that Morse code, that whatever sound you set up for the to transmit, by switching the radio selector. Right now there's a bug as of making of this video. The first position is R63 according to the writing. The second position is VHF. This third position is R28. But the R828 is actually in the second position. And this is wrong. I think they will change it in the future. But for now, this is how it is. So in order to listen to the sound, you want to flick it to the second position until they fix that. And now you can hear the Morse code, and also the switch has to be at the bottom in the radio position. And right now you're just listening to the Morse code, but if you want to navigate to the signal, you need to switch the switch to the R828 navigation position. You will no longer hear the Morse code, but now you are able to set the needle to follow the radio signal. and it's gonna be the needle number 2, the big one. This is the selector that switches between this course heading knob. Right now it's you can just set it to whatever heading you want. And this RQ2, if you flick the switch to RQ2, it will tune to that 50 FM, and it will show me the heading to that Humvee. Looks like the heading is about 355, so I'm gonna unpause it. I'm gonna fly this heading and try to find this Humvee. The Humvee is just right down there, and as I fly over him, the needle, number 2 needle, is gonna flip right over. Flying over him now. So this is how you can use your R828 radio to navigate, depending on how your mission is set up. Another radio you can use to navigate is the R852 radio. It's used to tune to VOR beacons. For example, in Persian Gulf, all the beacons are VOR. VOR beacons are in megahertz, like something like this, 114.9 megahertz for Al Dhafra, 114.25 megahertz for Abu Dhabi, and 112.6 megahertz for Al Ain International. And this map has VOR beacons everywhere. So you got your R852 panel right down here. It's kind of tucked away a little bit, and it has 4 preset channels, 1, 2, 3, 4, and as of making of this video, there is no way to change the preset frequencies in the mission editor or in the cockpit. The only way to change it is by going into your DCS folder, into the mods, aircraft, Mi-24P, cockpit, scripts, devices specs, radio. And there's going to be a Lua file for R852. If you open it with the notepad, you should see 4 presets, and you can manually change them to whatever you want for whatever area you operate in. And you need to change that before you jump into the Mi-24, but the client can be on when you change it. And right now I have Al Ain airfield just off my left, and the frequency is 112.6 megahertz, and I got SRS panel just on the left side, so you can see which frequency I'm tuned to for R852. And I have it preset for channel 1 for that airfield, and I'm just gonna flick it to channel 1. Channel 1 now, 112.6. As of now, there is no way that I could figure out how to listen to the Morse code. I'm sure they'll fix that in the future, but for now you can't listen to them. So again, this RQ2 switch needs to be on, And on this panel now, you need to flick the switch to the left for R852 navigation. And then you need this switch in ARC U2 position. When I flick it, this needle should go forward and to the left, kind of, to point at the airfield. And it does exactly that. It points me at this airfield. And you can have 4 channels preset, but again you have to edit the Lua file, which does not break the integrity of your client. So these are the systems I use to navigate in Mi-24 Hinds. Hopefully this was a helpful guide. And stay tuned for the next episode. Snaggle Fairy checking out.